The U.S. stock market is on an epic run. It's now the longest bull market in history. But that good fortune has not been equally shared. More than 40 million Americans still live below the poverty line in the U.S. That's according to census data. That's more than 10% of the country. And being broke comes with some unexpected costs, and they're forcing many Americans into debt. A new collaborative reporting project called Broke in Philly is highlighting the stories of people who are struggling with the high cost of having a low income as they struggle to pay for things like groceries, transportation, and cell phones. The editor of Broke in Philly, Jean Friedman-Rudovsky, joins me now from Philadelphia. She's also the co-executive director of Resolve Philadelphia. Jean, thanks for your time. So what are the expenses that you have found are hitting low-income folks more severely than others?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brooke. So in the start of our series, The High Cost of Being Broke, we looked at several factors that, essentially cost more for people who are earning less. We looked at the high cost of dental care, the high cost of transportation, the high cost of accessing banks, and so what happens when you are unbanked. We looked at the high cost of diapers and also cell phones as well.
And let's talk about cell phones. I mean, they're a necessity for most people if you're trying to find a job, if you're trying to get to a job interview, if you're trying to hold down a job. Why would a cell phone be more expensive if you're lower income?
That's right, exactly. Cell phones these days, we like to think of them as sort of these frivolous extra things, but they're actually incredibly important for our everyday life, particularly for people who are looking for jobs or who are looking for more stable housing. And so, we all know they're extremely expensive, but a lot of the ways that they can be a little bit less expensive is if you get a contract with the cell phone companies. That normally, lowers the cost at least of getting the phone and often of your long-term plan, because you can sort of lay out the costs over a long period of time. But the problem is, to be able to get that contract, you need to have good credit. And so if you have bad credit or no credit at all, which is the case for hundreds of millions of people in this country, then you're stuck with sort of doing the prepaid options. Some of those can look really great and look really inexpensive, right? $35 a month. But the problem is it gives you a really limited amount of data. And so then all of these other costs start piling up. You have overdraft fees. You have taxes that aren't included in that monthly fee. And so it ends up costing a lot more. Often also you have to pay for the cell phone up front rather than being able to pay for it over several months at a time if you get a contract plan.
One thing that's scary about this is that in many ways this is the best of times. Unemployment is at historic lows.
Right.
And I wonder, the folks you're profiling who are unemployed or underemployed, what's the common thread in why this otherwise good economy is leaving them behind?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things going on. One, we have to look at wage stagnation for those on sort of the lower levels, right? Of course, wages are rising for CEOs, profits are rising for CEOs. There's no wage stagnation there. But for those who are doing, the sort of work in companies and across the country every day, wages are not rising with the cost of inflation. And so you have people who are, working. As you say, unemployment is at an all-time low. People are working, but they're not actually able and to make enough to make ends meet. I think the second is also the rise of shift labor and gig labor, right? So you have way more people who are working sort of odd jobs here and there. They are not getting health insurance, they're not getting dental insurance, they're not getting all of the sort of benefits that come with full-time stable work. And so those, I think, are the two things, particularly here in Philadelphia, that really affect folks that are struggling economically.
Let's talk solutions. What ideas have you heard that address the problems you found?
Well, so yeah, I think, the exciting thing, so this Broke in Philly series, we do the High Cost of Being Broke series, but it's part of this larger project, Broke in Philadelphia. And it's a collaboration amongst 19 media organizations that are looking at a solutions-oriented perspective on poverty and economic mobility here in the city, and sometimes even nationally. And so what we see is, there is work happening on the ground in communities, in neighborhood organizations, in NGOs, in the government on the policy level to move the needle. And so part of what we're doing is trying to find those things that are actually working, solutions journalism, looking at what works, and bringing those to the fore. So I think when it comes to what is actually working, there's several things. One is programs or policies that are giving people access to good jobs where they're able to earn enough to meet the needs of their family. Those are programs that we're highlighting. We're looking at early childhood education, right? Because one of the keys to long-term economic success is how good of an education and support and upbringing you're getting when you're little. So really kind of the vast range of what is going to push people in a direction of being more economically mobile throughout their lives.
Many of the folks stuck in this cycle are already receiving some type of government assistance, maybe several types. What do you say to people who say this type of solution has not worked out and government assistance isn't where we should be looking now?
Well, I think here's the thing. My experience both with reporting on this project and just sort of in my life, I have met very few people who receive government assistance who actually want to be getting those handouts, right? People want to work. They want to feel useful. They want to feel productive in their own lives and to their community. And so, I would say in some ways they're right. Like something is wrong with the system that we have, folks who are receiving benefits like this, but they don't actually want to be. And so to me, that says we need to increase access and opportunity, again, to good jobs that are going to pay good wages so that folks can make enough to support their families. I would say there needs to be sort of more of a holistic look at the ways that we're going about supporting people, early childhood education, access to medical care and dental care. The other thing is, I think we also do need to take a look at how government assistance programs are being provided. I mean, what we see here in Philadelphia is there is almost a $15,000 gap between when government support for you ends, right, sort of the end of TANF welfare, and what it would take to have a job that has a salary that provides enough for your family. So what that means is, people who are receiving government benefits, they may want to start working, but if they're not able to sort of leap and get a job that gives them $15,000 more than what they're getting already, then they're not incentivized to actually go out and get these sort of low-wage jobs that are prolific around the country. So we do need to think more intentionally about sort of not just the on-ramp to government services, right, how to get people enrolled, but also the exit ramp. How are we pushing people, or helping people get off of government benefits and into quality jobs?
Okay, the series is Broken Philly. You can find it online. Jean Friedman-Rudovsky, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.